Passports, please. Is it just me, or is the sound of those words at an airport the most stressful thing you've ever heard? And anytime you actually carry your passport on you, it's like having some magical demonic book burning a hole in your bag in a hissing torrent of stress, lack of preparation, and a fear of losing it. But what would our world look like, as well as the intricacies of our modern society, if we did away with those small little books of transportation? What if we threw them all in the ocean and said, ha, visas be damned, I'm going to walk from Berlin to Beijing just because I can? Well, let's find out. Hello internet, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the most inquisitive channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. As per usual, I'll be your distant body flowing voice, Jack Finch, as today we curiously ask the question, what if you didn't need passports? Here we go. Before we begin this particular video though, we'd just like to give a huge thanks to our sponsors, Septics. And if you're heading out of the country on your next jet-setting trip, then you should certainly take a look at their awesome ultra-compact world travel power strip. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but these guys really are reinventing the plug. And this piece of kit is the ultimate power strip for your international travels. Designed by travelers for travelers, the compact travel power strip by Septics is simple, safe, and easy to use. Do you ever get that panicked moment when you're on vacation and have just arrived at your Airbnb when you realize that you've brought the wrong travel adapters for your phone charger? Yeah, you needn't worry with this guy. Septics travel strip features two standard US sockets, a USB port, a USB-C port, and then the real meat of this product, it's swap and adapt compatible interchangeable plug adapter attachments for use in over 200 countries worldwide. That's more countries than there are countries that currently use e-passports. Pretty impressive, right? If you're jet setting and want to keep all of your devices fully charged no matter where you are on the planet, then make sure to check out the box down below for more information about Septics Ultra Compact World Travel Power Strip. Anyway, on with the show. For the curious amongst you, that of course was from 2002's The Bourne Identity, depicting Jason Bourne himself, a man that simultaneously has more passports than one individual ever should have, but also has no idea where he's going. And it immediately begs the question, why on earth do we need passports in the first place? What are they all about? What's the purpose of that little blue or red or black book that we all agree to carry around every time we step on a train, a boat, or a plane? Well, you may be pretty amazed to know that the first written record of a passport in use is actually in the Hebrew Bible, dating back to roughly around 450 BC. In it, it states that a man named Nehemiah, an official in the service of King Artaxerxes I of Persia, asked permission to travel to Judea. The king granted him leave and gave him a letter made from parchment requesting him safe passage as he traveled through the nearby lands. And really, historically speaking, that's pretty much all a passport was and continues to be. A travel document ensuring safe passage for the user. That's it. Obviously, in the cutthroat time of the ancient world, safety wasn't always a given, as traveling from castle to fort to citadel was a pretty treacherous journey in and of itself. You know, bandits and all that, right? In fact, that's exactly where the term passport comes from, a medieval document that was required in order to freely pass through the gate, otherwise known as the port of a city wall. It is thought that passports were an incredibly important part of Chinese bureaucracy and were in frequent use during the imperial age of the Western Han and even as early as the Qin dynasty. They required such details as age, height, and distinctive bodily features, and for all intents and purposes, they were exactly the same as the passports that we still use to this day. And since its later modern inception in the early days of medieval Europe, the form and function of the passport has been relatively the same, just replace the city guard and the portcullis gate with border control services and airports. Simple, right? But you know what comes next, right guys? In the parameters of this hypothetical scenario, all of those passports suddenly and instantaneously just got revoked, and passport control across the planet just got removed forever. Now, I know we say this quite a lot over here at Life's Biggest Questions, but really, perhaps more so than in many other of our scenarios, this really would spell the end of the world. Well, not entirely, just complete and utter global collapse and a few centuries of strife and worry. In fact, it would pretty much be like feudal medieval Europe. Funny how that happens, isn't it? First and foremost, every employee and member of border security forces worldwide are out of a job. Millions upon millions of individuals cast out, no longer useful under this passportless global regime. On its own, this immediate financial system shock would spell a global economic crisis, and I don't just mean a recession, I mean complete system collapse. Do you know how utterly devastating it would be to lose the income of millions of people in a single sweeping motion? It would be bad, and the delicate system of infrastructure that that makes transport and travel across our fair planet even possible would be utterly paralysed. So in that respect, we needn't worry about passports really, because you couldn't go anywhere. While obviously you couldn't cross an ocean unless you had your own private yacht or jet. You see, from Europe or anywhere else other than North America, you could freely roam around the new borderless continents, but there is a slight caveat to that, because you wouldn't be alone in that endeavour, and now hundreds of millions of other people would be mass migrating across the world like that water buffalo scene in The Lion King. And we all know how that ends. You see, imagine if 2 billion people just moved out of Asia and into Europe. The entire continent would be swamped, and the strain on European infrastructure would be too much to handle. Tent cities would emerge in rural areas, destroying land critical for agricultural use, and then you've got a pending doom of a food crisis on your hands. Cities would very rapidly evolve into fortresses of their own as resources were stockpiled for fear of overuse. Megacities would emerge, and the whole planet would quickly look like everyone was playing as the Grand Doge of Venice in Civ 5. It's pretty safe to say that it would be an unprecedented apocalyptic scenario. Many would perish from starvation, and many more from the conflict and violence that emerges when you collide millions upon millions of people in treacherous new land. Yeah, the planet would eventually recover and reach some kind of equilibrium, but if, as of tomorrow, we didn't need passports, the ensuing apocalyptic event would take 100 or so years to recover from. It would be the beginning of a literal modern dark age. But what if we took a different route entirely, and instead we removed this ancient system of travel altogether, hypothetically of course, and just said, you know what guys, it's open season, forever. Forget about travel documentation, you can go wherever you want. And instead, given the parameters of this life's biggest question, human civilization diverted in its course of ancient history, and instead of King Artaxerxes I issuing the first ever passport back in 450 BC, we just never bothered. We thought, you know what, humans don't need a piece of paper to protect them in foreign lands, they can go where they please. It's a big world, after all. How would our planet have evolved under that oddly specific lack of red tape? How would our civilization have shaped itself toward a much more open and freely accessible planet? More importantly, what would any given country even look like, if we could ever call it a country? You see, the course of human history may have been shaped by a piece of paper that lets this person go to that kingdom without being hindered along the way, and the end result has been this, a system delicately built upon a piece of paper. But you know who doesn't need a passport? The Queen of England. I mean, that's just cheating. Well, there we have it, our long and short answer to the question, what if we didn't need passports? What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Have any intriguing insights of your own? Then let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Before we depart from today's video, we'd just like to once again give a huge thanks to our sponsors, Septics. And if you're in the business of demonstrating the powerful transportational power of the passport, then make sure you're fully charged whilst you're doing it. Make sure to check out more in the information box down below. On that note, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, or just life's biggest questions in general, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your disembodied floating voice, Jack Finch. You've been watching life's biggest questions, and until next time, you take it easy.